New Mexico has one of the highest unemployment rates in the nation at 6.2%, and finding a job is even harder in rural areas like the Navajo Nation. Now, one way to make a living is to start your own business, but that also comes with unique challenges on the reservation that entrepreneurs don't face in other communities. Producer Sarah Gustavus recently visited the Navajo Nation to look at this issue for the State of Change project with the Solutions Journalism Network and other media partners across the state. And she sat down afterwards with the project coordinator to talk more about the focus of the series, Resilience in Rural New Mexico.
On the western edge of the Navajo Nation, the North Loop family farm is wrapping up the growing season.
We're putting the farm to bed for the winter time and then starting up new crops in the greenhouse. Right about now is when the farmers, they'll go home, tend to their livestock, families. But they'll be back in the springtime again.
Stacy Jensen grew up in the area, but went away to school. He came back later and helped start this farm that provides space for about 30 families to grow produce. It's an important resource because fresh produce is hard to find in local stores. But there is a tradition of farming in the area that some want to preserve or bring back. Elders like Betty Kelly learned to farm from a young age. And she says Navajo people once relied on small-scale farming to feed themselves. North Loop Family Farm supports subsistence farming to feed individuals and families, but the nonprofit is also looking for ways to grow operations and hire more local people. That means finding ways to sell produce and other food products, and that's where they turn to the Native American Business Incubator Network.
Whenever we see somebody who has a skill that they're trying to market to either their community or even outside their community, we want to help them turn that skill into something that they can rely on for financial gain.
But aspiring entrepreneurs who live on the Navajo Nation and Native Americans who live on reservations and pueblos across New Mexico face unique challenges when starting a business. First, you can't just walk into a bank and offer your house as collateral for a business loan.
That's a very simple bank transaction off the reservation. Well, on the reservation, you might own your home, but you don't own the land there.
Stego says there are multiple potential solutions, from crowdfunding to get a project off the ground to crafting new tribal regulations to make it easier for members to access land and capital.
We want to foster economic development on the reservation within tribal communities. And when we say that, we're talking the whole gamut of entrepreneurs. So we want to include everybody from the person who makes clothes or jewelry or crafts or sells burritos to the larger scale businesses who are able to employ several employees.
Nabin helped the North Loop Family Farm find matching funds for a federal grant, but there are challenges that can only be addressed by the tribal government. In Window Rock, Navajo Nation officials are also talking about entrepreneurship. President Russell Begay says his administration is proud of an agreement the tribe signed with the federal government this year to take over control of leasing on their lands.
Anytime BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs, had to put their name on it, and they did. Every lease, whether it's business or otherwise, they had to put their name on it. But the minute they have their name on it, then federal regulation kicks in. And we had to, anyone that's starting business had to conform to these federal regulations, which is extensive. But now they don't have to. And BIA is out of the game. We're completely in control of our land. And so we follow our regulations.
Along with streamlining the regulatory process, President Begay says the Navajo Nation set aside $20 million in funding to support entrepreneurs who've been shut out of the traditional lending process. Begay says he believes new opportunities for entrepreneurs and small businesses will give young people the chance to stay and build a career on the reservation and encourage those who left for school or jobs to return.
Navajos are excited about coming home, and we didn't have that before. And the reason why they left is because it was more exciting to be out there than here. But now that's being reversed.
Back at the North Loop family farm, Stacy Jensen is looking for ways to expand the business side of the farm. He built a greenhouse to grow crops in the winter and started a small market on the property. Families from the North Loop farm can sell extra produce from their plots or to Jensen for the market. And he thinks there's a unique potential in identifying a specialty product that could be targeted for commercial sales.
I think that's going to be our blue corn. We'll process it, we'll do cornmeal, we'll make some value-added products. Corn chips, blue corn chips is one of them.
According to a survey by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, in 2012, there were nearly 15,000 farms on the Navajo Nation. The majority produced $1,000 or less in products annually. And there's another test for the resilience of the agriculture system. The average age of farmers on the Navajo Nation was 58. Aging farmers is a concern nationwide. Jensen works with local schools, and he sees potential in intergenerational farming.
I think we bring both the elders and the youth. We try to re-engage them through educational, through projects, through work, through workshops. The kids, you know, they know something. Elders know something, so they exchange those ideas there, and it helps out. I think it'll, in the long run, I think it'll bring the youth back to the farm.
For New Mexico in Focus and State of Change, I'm Sarah Gustavus.
Leah Todd is with me now. Leah is the Mountain States coordinator and a reporter for the Solutions Journalism Network. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
This project, State of Change, includes partners across New Mexico. What are some other stories that have been covered for this series, including your own?
Well, every newsroom took a slightly different approach, which I think is one of the big strengths of a collaboration like this. So first off, for example, Stacy Matlock, the editor and a reporter for the Taos News, is taking this really unique longitudinal look at the nearby community of Raton. So she is in year 2 of what she hopes becomes a 5-year project, following this town's evolution away from coal and toward something else, ideally. So that's one approach that Stacy and the Taos News took for this project. Another approach, another story was from NewMexicoPolitics.net. Heath Hauseman is the editor and publisher there, and he decided to take a sort of snapshot in time, deep dive look into a single community of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, 6,000 people just south of Albuquerque. And he wanted to look at the way that a single pair of entrepreneurs was spreading this sort of shockwave of economic development through the community. So he has this in-depth, also very close and on the ground with one community look, but the story is focused on a single point in time. Some of the other examples include Antonia Gonzalez, who you've worked with before with Kiwanis Broadcasting and National Native News, took a look at a single program, less about a single community per se, and more about a single program that had a really long track record of working with the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. She looked at how well that program worked, what its outcomes had been over time, which was a big asset for that story.
Another hope that there's some lessons here in New Mexico that we could learn from Pine Ridge.
Absolutely, right. So one of the ideas of this entire project is to focus in really clearly on what's the transferable insight, or what could this seemingly disparate community several states away have to teach our own communities here in New Mexico about economic development, or about community resilience, or about growth in rural places.
And what about your story on the Young West?
So one of the projects that I took on was actually a data visualization. I worked with Headwaters Economics up in Bozeman, Montana, to analyze migration data over the past several decades. And all of it was trying to answer this question of, where is the Young West? We hear all about the rural brain drain. New Mexico PBS did the excellent series recently about rural places that are just losing our young people. And we don't hear often about these sort of positive deviants or the places that are breaking that trend. And so I wanted to find out, what are the rural communities across the entire West, all of the 11 Western states, where young people are actually moving in with families or maybe just young people in their 20s. So Headwaters broke down migration data over the past 30 years to highlight communities that were losing young people and communities that were actually managing to attract young people. So that's an online data visualization. People can interact with that. It's super in-depth and new. It's an original sort of question that this project answered.
And the umbrella idea was resilience in rural communities. Why focus on that for this series?
Well, one answer to that, I think, is that in rural communities, for those of us who live in small towns, and I live up in Taos, we know the hardships that our communities face. We live them day in and day out, let alone see them on TV or read about them in the local newspaper. And I think what is less well understood is what is being tried against some aspect of these many problems that are really well understood. We just don't know in many cases what other towns like us, our size or our demographic, are trying. And so that's a big effort of this project, is to try and ask, what are other communities doing and what could other communities learn when it comes to this question of economic viability for small towns? What are the jobs that will be in Taos, New Mexico, or Truth or Consequences, or Mora in the next generation? What will it look like?
We can certainly connect people to the project at newmexicoinfocus.org. Leah Todd, thanks for stopping by.